On Giants. Mounds, Monsters, Myth and Man, or Why We Want to Be Small, by Brad Lockwood.
Copyright 2010, Brad Lockwood, all rights reserved.
Why do you keep joining me on these stupid expeditions, huh?
I don't know.
They're fun though, aren't they? If you ever find anything.
Ancient+Man in America.
At least someone tried to set the record straight, but he's inconvenient, a footnote akin to Cyrus Thomas, the Smithsonian, even equally extraordinary in ongoing finds afar. Experience, excavations, eyewitness, and credentials aside, the whistleblower was honest yet inconvenient. Ancient+Man in America, released in 1880 and written by the man, the MD, who was also excavating alongside Cheney, where giant bones were supposedly unearthed and measured, standing, kneeling, digging. Begun on New Year's Day, months after Cheney passed, this one-man story should have invalidated the many claims, myths, that his partner had propagated. By the late 1870s, Frederick Larkin MD was ready to share his story, confessing in the book's preface,
I had no intention of publishing this volume until only the last few months. About the 1st of January, 1879, I commenced a series of articles which were published weekly in a newspaper, the Randolph Register, describing the mounds and fortifications which had been explored by myself and others.
Poignant, perhaps regretful, precise, the watchmaking surgeon and professor started his sole book by accident. Maybe freed by Cheney's recent death, Larkin MD was finally telling his side of the story.
I am well aware that many popular writers in describing the ancient works have been frequently misled by conflicting reports, which are always in circulation when connected with any subject that borders on the marvelous.
And it is here, now, that my quest for giants came to a very abrupt end. Starting at the age of 8 and continuing until the age of 35 in the summer of 2006, I made this discovery just as Frederick Larkin MD had started his book, accidentally. I'd been searching for a copy of Cheney's oft-misquoted first book, the 1859 edition with no text, only illustrations, serendipitously following a lead to a rare bookstore in Ellicottville, New York, just over the hill from where my journey began in Cattaraugus County some 27 years earlier. The owner of the bookstore thought he had Cheney's book, but was mistaken when I arrived, handing me a book much more valuable instead. Ancient+Man in America by Frederick Larkin MD. Tattered and expensive, binding crumbling, this is the book I needed all along. Dare I say that this is the book we all needed, instead of his former cohort's many editions and reprints. For, on page 44, it all came around, all too clear and true for me to deny.
It is stated in a paper written by Dr. Cheney in 1859 that the skeletons found in the mound at Casadaga were those of giants, and that one in particular measured 7 feet and 5 inches. I suppose he got that information from some persons who saw them at the time they were exhumed, and their organ of marvelousness greatly exalted. That the mound builders were a trifle larger than the present type is very probable, but that there were giants 8 and 10 feet is all fabulous. I have seen many skeletons from mounds in different states, but have seen none that will much exceed the present people now living.
My jaw dropped, tears welled. My 27 years of searching for giants came down to this single paragraph, this sentence.
The subject under consideration has enough of the marvelous about it to gratify almost any imagination without resorting to giants.
I knew it, now, but couldn't accept it, still. I read the MD's words over and over.
But that they were giants 8 and 10 feet is all fabulous.
And
to gratify almost any imagination without resorting to giants.
Setting the book down, silent, I thought I'd cry. And then, again, it hit me. Started as a gag, growing into a giggle. I was then laughing like a fool. Scaring Stuart, sending him fleeing under the bed. I couldn't stop. Unceasing howls, cleansing and freeing me, liberated at last. Maybe Larkin MD did the same upon hearing that his longtime partner and fellow mound enthusiast, yet infamous fabulist, had died. Almost cried until feeling free, knowing that he could now speak, tell his entire tale. Howl. The surgeon, watchmaker, and fellow antiquarian knew it all along. Quietly diligent, allowing Cheney to write and publish the fantastic, even as he, Larkin MD, studied and appreciated the earthworks, man-made forts and mounds for what they were. They are marvelous, amazing structures built by a people long ago. He's right. Why resort to giants? The notion is addictive, but so is the reality. How couldn't I see it all along? Forts surrounded by 20-foot-plus high walls. Effigy burials using fire and unglaciated rocks. How amazing is that? Why did they have to be so tall when so ingenious, surviving the wilds of America millennia before whites? Dare I say before what we consider Native Americans arrived? Ice ages, climate change, droughts, deforestation, invasion by others, creatures, massive mastodon, thick woodlands, alien bacteria, illness. Who were they really? And how did they survive and expand? Multiple waves of explorers, survivors, Asians and or Siberians, Paleo-Indian, pre-Clovis and Clovis, Archaic, Woodland, Adena, Hopewell, Erie, Iroquois, spanning hundreds of generations, multiple climactic eras and recurring invasions, insurgencies, infestations, plagues probably killing more than war. When you think of it, truly grasp the impossible conditions the earliest Americans conquered, they were giants. Not in stature but deed, surviving, thriving in this godless land. Giants indeed. Despite multiple expeditions, countless excavations, carbon dates and theories, professors and professional archaeologists, anthropologists and ethnologists, they still can't accurately say where Native Americans come from. Over a land bridge from Siberia maybe, or the oceans, Phoenicians or Solutreans, Pacific or Atlantic, by boats millennia earlier than we can currently grasp.
Footnote.
Smithsonian paleoanthropologist Dennis Stanford has put forward the controversial theory of the Solutreans, early European explorers who made their way to the Americas over 20,000 years ago and persisted until around 14,000 BC, predating common theories and evidence of Clovis-Man in America.
Most scientists comfortably date known habitation of America to around 16,500 years ago.
Footnote.
Dean Snow, anthropologist at Penn State University, discounts Stanford's theory, pointing to the Canary Islands west of Spain as proof that such westward explorations probably couldn't happen without leaving evidence. Garbage or remains, wherever humans go, we make a mess.
Just when the last ice age was ebbing, passages for migration appearing. Why not earlier? Or did the glaciers erase any pre-ice age record? Are oceans well, flooding the original Roanoke? If Neanderthals were surviving on the Rock of Gibraltar until only 24,000 years ago, and hominids still alive on an island in Indonesia, as the first humans are known in America, why is it inconceivable that this continent wasn't settled much earlier? As posited by both Cheney and Larkin MD, in addition to mounds and bones, there was also an entire city beneath Conewango Valley. Who can say? Who has dug so deep? 50, hundreds of glacial top layer feet deep? Even in my current home city of Brooklyn, there's a story of a lost city of Tenantum, below Coney Island, someday reemerging when the ice grows again, oceans retreating to reveal eons of earlier civilizations. Pangea once, Atlantis awaits. No one can explain the Olmecs in South America, now known to have a written language at the time of the early Egyptians, 3000 BC.